Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the lunch table. And I'm here with my co-host, Ben.
What's going on, Alan? What's going on?
It's going pretty well. We had a good week of sports, and we're going to jump right into the first game where we had the Chiefs versus Browns, where the Chiefs won 22-17. What was your impression of the game, Ben?
Well, out of all the playoff games, this was definitely one of the more, I'd say, interesting games. The Chiefs obviously came out the win, but obviously Patrick Mahomes going down with kind of that weird tackle. It looked kind of weird, but yeah, he's in concussions, and I mean, he had a concussion, or he went to concussion protocol, and Andy Reid kind of came back, or like in the press conference, he said that he was fine, but I think if I were a Kansas City fan, I think I'd be a little bit nervous just because just by how he looked when he was trying to stand up at first and he was kind of like wobbling and he didn't really look too good. I think it didn't really, I'd be kind of nervous of him playing against the Bills. But I think he'll still play. But for the Browns' sake, I mean, they got to look at, they had a great season. I mean, they were able to make the playoffs. They made it pretty far. I mean, farther than they have in like the past decade or so. And I mean, it's a good start. I mean, it's a good start for them. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll make it farther if they make some additions in free agency. How about you?
I really liked how Baker Mayfield was playing. Obviously, the Mahomes concussion was the biggest thing. It didn't even look like a concussion because it looked like he just got tackled weirdly. But then when you saw him get up, he stumbled immediately, and you could look in his eyes, and he was dizzy. And I was like, oh, that's really not good.
Yeah.
So like, and then they showed the replay. So I'm like, I'm not exactly sure how he suffered a concussion, but it must have been something with his neck because that's the only way I could see it.
It almost looked like the tackler kind of put him like in a chokehold and then like brought him down with him. So,
but it wasn't like a dirty play or anything. So
no. It was a clean hit. It
just
was a clean hit,
I think.
Yeah. But obviously, the Chiefs are going to be moving on to the championship game. Anything else, Alan, on this game?
For the next weekend, it's going to be the Chiefs versus Bills, who we're going to be talking about up next. I would be very scared as a Chiefs fan if they didn't have Mahomes, because Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I'm not sure alone with their quarterback. The quarterback who came in, Chad Henne, he had that pretty good third down run, but he also threw one horrendous pick that I'm just not even sure how you attempt that.
Yeah, it kind of just went and nowhere basically. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting game. But moving on to the other weekend night game, we had the Ravens versus the Bills, and this was a pretty good defensive brawl if you really want to go at it. Obviously the Bills came on top 17-3, which was huge against the Ravens, and the Ravens offense, to me, they just didn't look good. They looked like they were playing against the Titans like last year. I mean, they didn't really get a good run game going on. Their passing game was a little wonky. Their center had two really bad snaps that cost them a couple of yards, and Lamar going into concussion protocol, which was definitely not too good. But I think the other thing that we have to put into consideration, Justin Tucker missed two field goals, and this is supposed to be
too.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be like a reliable guy. Like he gets paid I think he's like one of the high. I think he is paid the highest kicker, and for that he makes field goals and extra points, and he missed two big field goals, which I think would have helped the Ravens, confidence boost go up. But Bills came on top 17-3. Josh Allen did his thing. Stephon Diggs, once he was able to get free from the Ravens secondary, which I think was definitely they were definitely, I don't think they were they didn't get as much attention as they should have, because they were able to lock down Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, their tight end Knox pretty well. So props to them. But once Stephon Diggs got free in the second half, it was pretty much game over. How about you, Alan?
I like the same point. Like, to be able to keep the Bills to 17 points, you should be able to win that game. If you're keeping Josh Allen in that offense to 17 points. But I'm gonna be honest, I saw an argument the other day. People are saying Lamar Jackson was much better than Deshaun Watson. I'm like, literally no one on earth agrees with that opinion. Because Lamar Jackson's not a good thrower. Like, the only reason he's like a top 10 quarterback is his running ability. His throwing ability is all right, and sure, he could develop to become better, but like, it's a serious downside. And if Lamar can't like throw well, then he's not going to play good against like all these other teams have insanely good throwers, other than Drew Brees and Jared Goff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Lamar just relies on his legs too much. He thinks that he can like run away from, tackles and whatnot. And I think he did show some good, like, veteran like leadership. And also when like, I think the first fumble, he like got it and ran over to the side and threw it away, that's a very good play because then you don't lose yards. But I think at the same time, I think he also got a little bit nervous. And you also got to give credit to the Bills defense because they locked down a lot of the Ravens wide receivers for a majority of the game, if not all of it. I think Lamar had a couple of was it Lamar or was it the quarterback that came in that had the wide receiver was wide open and he overthrew it?
He overthrew him. That was Huntley.
Yeah, that was the quarterback that came in for Lamar. But yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens definitely need to address their wide receivers. I think they need one more. But besides that, I mean, two more. Yeah, I guess two more. But we'll see about the Ravens. But we also had another game. Now we're going to go on the NFC side. We got the Rams versus the Packers. The game itself was pretty much Packers all day, and the Rams were just trying to get ahead. Jalen Ramsey versus Devontae Adams was definitely one to chauffeur or look at. But I think the one play I think that Devontae Adams had over Jalen Ramsey was when he was motioned to the left side and then sprinted to the right side, and then Jalen Ramsey was trying to tell the other cornerback, I think, to cover him, and he didn't. And then Devontae Adams was wide open. Aaron Rodgers was able to quickly throw that. Alan?
Yeah, Ramsey literally couldn't have gotten to Devontae Adams on that play. Like, the corner who was there needed to get out to him. Like, Jalen Ramsey followed him and got set, and then like when Devontae Adams took off, like there was no way Jalen Ramsey would have to have been seriously like probably unhumanly fast to catch up with Devontae Adams in time. So it's just like, sure, I guess you can technically count Devontae Adams scoring on Jalen Ramsey, but that was not Jalen Ramsey's fault. Jalen Ramsey did pretty well the rest of the game. Like, I'm not going to say Devontae Adams is a really, really good receiver, but I don't think he scored other than that one time he was on, other than that motion play. But I know he did get many yards too. Yeah, I think Alan Lazard had like a 40-yard catch. Yeah, he was held to 66 yards.
Under 100, which is pretty big, especially to keep Devontae Adams, who's arguably the top wide receiver in the National Football League,
especially for the season.
But I think you also got to look at Aaron Rodgers. I think he's still showing that he can still play. And I mean, I think home field advantage obviously helped him a lot in this game, but he is going to have a pretty tough chance against the next team that we're about to talk about. But I think you also got to look at the Rams. They did pretty well, especially seeing how Jared Goff had thumb surgery like a couple of weeks. Was it like almost 2 weeks before?
Yeah.
And I think they just need to use the run game a lot. Their Acre. He definitely is he's definitely a future star in being for the Rams. And hopefully they will be able to come back. It was tough to see Aaron Donald put some tears in after the game because I think he wished he could do more and play more, but I think his body couldn't let him because of that injury that he sustained last week. Yeah. We shall see what the Rams will do in the offseason.
If it weren't for the huge who's the Rams quarterback? Whatever his name is. He's not good. If they didn't have the large contract tied to Jared Goff, he's not good. Like, even when healthy. So I think it might be a bit of a mistake to have signed him to that big contract, but I think the big thing is Aaron Donald wasn't making his usual disruptive plays that he usually does, and probably because of the injury. I mean, the Packers have a good offensive line too, but Aaron Donald usually has his way with literally everyone. So I think having a good offensive line doesn't negate the fact what Aaron Donald does. And
Yeah.
one last point I wanted to get to. Yeah, I think the Rams. I think as much as they are paying for Jared Goff, they need a new quarterback.
Yeah, but I think in that scenario, oh, go ahead.
I just don't think he's going to be like a top 5 quarterback ever in his career. Which, if you look at the rest of the people here, you obviously you have like the top 5 quarterbacks. Bad accounting. Top 4 quarterbacks basically left in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think also you got to look at it this way, as the fact that I think when the Rams did sign him, wasn't that when he helped them take them to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And obviously, it wasn't the most eventful Super Bowl, but I mean, you still went to the Super Bowl. But I also think you got to put in consideration, like, if they were to trade him and his big contract, that would be like another scenario like Philly has with Carson Wentz. Who's going to want to take up all that money?
But at least Jared Goff's like at least
I think the only
semi-decent.
teams I could see.
Carson Wentz played bad.
I guess. I mean, okay, then let me ask you this. Deshaun Watson for Jared Goff. Could you see? I mean, they both have pretty hefty contracts, if you want to put it that way, because Deshaun Watson has a pretty hefty contract. The key is, do the Rams have enough pieces to trade if they wanted to trade for Deshaun Watson? Only because they trade away basically all their draft picks to get Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, you're not. They're not getting Deshaun Watson. They'd have to trade probably like Aaron Donald or something to get Deshaun Watson, because you need like 3 first-round picks no matter which team you're coming from. So that's why I don't think Deshaun Watson gets traded, because I think it's just too much. Like, unless he really forces a point and like sits out an entire season like Trent Williams, and they just have to trade him for like 2 first-round picks or something. But we'll get to that situation later. Let's move on to the next game. We have the Buccaneers versus the Saints, and the Buccaneers won 30-20, and this is possibly Drew Brees' last game of his career.
Sad.
Yeah. He did not look like a good game. He threw for 3 picks on the day.
Mm-hmm.
Not the way he would have wanted to go out.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I think it was just a game that I don't think the Saints were not prepared for, but they just didn't look like they really wanted to play in that aspect. I mean, there was a lot of there was one interception. There was like some coordination error between him and Alvin Kamara. There was another one where he threw it in some dicey places and got tipped around to get picked. But I think it does make a point that Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, he beat the Washington football team, who is one of, I would like to think, top 10 defenses, and they beat the number 1 defense in the Saints by 10 points, which I think had everybody off, like, kind of like, whoa, okay, these Buccaneers can do something. So I think it does put an argument that Tom Brady is either the best or one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think there was a ridiculous stat is like Tom Brady has been in the conference championship more than the next quarterback had played in the in the playoffs in general. I think they were saying Tom Brady played in a conference championship like 14 of his of like 17 years throughout a span. Like, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the next, like, Tom Brady has won 32 playoff games, and I think the next closest person has won like 16, I think was the number.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's definitely, yeah. But going back to Drew Brees' last game, question is, who are the Saints going to have at their quarterback position? Because you also got to consider, to anybody that doesn't know, how badly the Saints are in financial debt. I think they're under like $90 million under the salary cap. So obviously, if Drew Brees comes out and says he retires, they're either going to put Taysom Hill, who they got, I think he just signed like a 3-year contract, or they're going to re-sign Jameson Winston. Excuse me. Alan, who do you think? Who would you rather have at quarterback?
I mean, at this point, I'm not even sure you need to get that decision. I think you have to blow the roster up. I feel like this was the one year they're going to make the final push. They didn't make it. Like, they're going to have to get rid of lots of people. I think the only people you maybe keep are Michael Thomas. And even at this point, I'm not sure you keep him. I know he plays well, but, like, injury concerns. But you probably only keep maybe your couple top superstars. But a lot of people got to go. I just don't know how you keep the cap, get under the cap space by the time you need to have it done, especially when you're $90 million under. Like that's like nearly, that's like that's the worst in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I just think, well, I guess which stars would you be considered to let go? Like, would you trade Alvin Kamara for some picks or
I would trade
future
anyone
star?
over 28. I think Alvin Kamara is like 26, so I might not trade him, especially because I don't know who's going to trade that much for. Yeah, Alvin Kamara is 25, so I wouldn't trade him. Michael Thomas, I think, is like 27.
What about Cameron Jordan?
Yeah,
he's
got it. I'd probably trade him. I don't know his contract, but he's 31. But I feel like a lot of teams got to go because they just don't have money.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Cameron Jordan report. So this was actually June 11, 2019. Reportedly agreed to a 3-year, $52 million contract extension. So he'll be there for 3 more years.
Supposedly, he could get. I mean, he's got a lot of that guaranteed, so he might not get cut. He might have to something happen, but I don't know. That seems like a lot to pay for a team that I don't think, if Drew Brees is gone, I don't think they can really contend for a Super Bowl anymore with either Jameis or Taysom Hill. I think both are I think Taysom Hill, no idea why he got that contract extension when he did. I think he got like $10 million a year deal.
No. Oh, 10 million. Okay, I thought you were about to say a 10-year contract.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, I mean, if you look at the NFC South, it's kind of, I mean, they got the Buccaneers, but then once Tom Brady retires, again, the Buccaneers are going to need a quarterback. Who else?
That's true.
You got the Saints, who, if you say, should just kind of sell the team, basically, kind of a thing, where they just trade away everybody and then try and get some money back. I mean, you got the Panthers, who could be on the rise up, but again, they have their own issues. And you got the Falcons, who whenever they need to win a game, they choke. So, like, who honestly will take it if we're gonna look 5 years ahead? Like, honestly,
probably the Bucs.
I think probably, but Tom Brady only signed like a 3-year contract, and if we're thinking 5 years ahead, Tom Brady now is
like 43.
He's got to be in his.
He's old. Like,
he's 43, so he'll be. If we're looking 48, do you really think he's going to be playing until he's 50?
I mean, Ben, like, think about this. We said when he reached 40, he was going to drop off the planet and not be able to play. That was 3 years ago. Like, Tom Brady, whatever he's doing working out, he's still good. Like, I think Tom Brady, I don't think it's likely he'll get to 50 and still play, but I think 48 is not out of the realm of possibility.
I guess. I mean, the only thing that I'm saying is that he'll be close to 50. Maybe I see he'll probably play till like he's 45. And I think at that point, either his wife's going to be like, hey, look, you're 45. Like, come on. I mean, I just don't see him playing while he's 50.
I think Father Time will probably catch up to him by 50, and he won't be good enough to be still playing at 50. But I think, I agree with you. I think 45 is probably the drop-off point.
Everybody in the comments that's watching this video, put a comment, and if you think Tom Brady's going to be playing till you're 50, put an explanation why. It doesn't have to be super long, but just I want to hear your guys' opinion because I really don't see Tom Brady playing at the age of 50. But that's it with basically football that happened this weekend. Obviously, the championship games, we got the Chiefs versus Bills, which will be in Kansas City. And then we got the Packers versus Buccaneers, which will be in Green Bay, which, could have a weather effect, but we all know Tom Brady played in New England, so he's used to snow and cold. But with all that, we're kind of like some breaking news. This actually happened. So this is being filmed on Tuesday, January 19th. And Washington is in advanced talks with a new GM named Marty Herney. And Allen put, not quite sure of the role, sure to be different than his time in Carolina, hopefully. It seems like Ron Rivera is bringing basically everybody from Carolina over to Washington. Allen?
So I've seen lots of Washington's fans complain about that, but I'm like, Carolina for a long stretch of time has been significantly better than Washington was during that time. So even if we are turning into the Panthers, that's at least some form of an upgrade. But I don't know too much about this guy. I don't think we can ever know too much about what the people in the front office do. But I've seen he might not even get the GM role. And if he does, they're going to hire like 2 people to come in. So I'm not exactly sure what his role is. He might not actually be the GM. I've seen lots of conflicting reports, and I don't think we'll know until they make an official announcement.
Yeah, I guess my only question is, all right, since you said that we're going to become basically the next Carolina Panthers, my question is, do you think that we'll sign Cam Newton to be a quarterback in Washington, where he may play like where he'll play maybe play like a Jameis Winston role of kind of like just sitting on the bench, and if we need him, he'll come in?
I mean, even then, I don't want that. I would not see the reason. We have lots of capable backups. We have Kyle Allen, and we have Taylor Heinicke. So like, perfectly decent backups.
Right, but I guess the argument there could be, is Taylor Heinicke, he only played one game. Does one game define what he'll be next season or the year after that? And the year after that.
But that's why you don't make him the starter, though. That's why you let him be the backup. You can have him come in and be that one spark game.
I guess. I mean, if you want to look at it that way.
Like, he has shown to be much better at throwing the football than Cam Newton did this season. Like, even in the one game, he was better at throwing the football, and Taylor Heinicke can show he can move. I don't think you need to look in too much to see if a quarterback can actually make plays with his feet or not. And he, obviously does.
I guess my only worry of that is kind of like, because we put him in a scenario where it was a playoff win, and he played really well. But if we paid him, like, let's say we gave him an extension that was worth like $50 million, let's just say, I don't know if I'd be too confident in giving him $50 million over a couple of years. Because then we'll be in another scenario where, for instance, like Josh Norman, we signed him to a massive contract and he was going to be this great cornerback for us. And he was a bust. Not a bust, but...
Yes, he was a bust.
Okay, he was a bust. Like, is it really worth giving him all that money? Now, if we were to get someone like Deshaun Watson or something like that, then I'm all for paying him $50
million a year.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But I'm not sold on Taylor Heinicke yet. Hopefully he'll prove me wrong and he'll become great. But in that sense, that's pretty much all I really have on this topic. How about you, Alan?
No, I'm ready to move on to the next one if you are.
Okay. Well, I guess the next one is new coaches are popping up in the NFL. We got Urban Meyer signing with the Jaguars. Obviously, Urban Meyer had a terrific college coaching football career, winning 3 national championships, one with Florida, and he only won 2 national championships, one with Florida and one with Ohio State. Brandon Staley to the Chargers, who was the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. Robert Saleh to the Jets, who was the defensive coordinator to the 49ers. And Eric Bieniemy to the Texans, which was a little bit the enemy. And again, that's with some other Deshaun Watson drama.
Yeah, I believe...
Out of all these...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I know the Texans put in a request to interview Eric Bieniemy, which he obviously can't do until the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, which is my prediction. But he can't interview so then, which I think is more of a ploy to just get Deshaun Watson to pick up the phone because apparently he hasn't been picking up the phone from the Texans in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess, Urban Meyer to Jaguars, from what I've heard, it could either be a bust or a great thing. Obviously, Urban Meyer was able to do it in college football, but the NFL is obviously a lot different. You don't have five-star recruits on your team always, especially with the Jaguars, because they don't really. They got some stars, but they don't have as many as I guess Ohio State had in college. Brendan Staley to the Chargers. I guess they went for a defensive mindset. I'm kind of disappointed that they let go of Anthony Lynn because I actually kind of liked him as a coach. Robert Saleh to the Jets. I'd say that's probably been the best signing out of all these, just because you've heard really good things about him. And yeah, I guess kind of going on with Alan about the Eric Bieniemy possibly signing to the Texans. Alan?
That would be the best hire if the Texans get Eric Bieniemy. The Texans might be able to make the playoffs next year. I don't understand all the defensive coach hires. Like the NFL is showing more and more that you need an offensive coach because if you're a defensive coach and your offensive coordinator gets hired, your offense is gone. So, I guess I don't especially for the Chargers, I don't understand the Brandon Staley one. Like you needed to get an offensive mind to capitalize off of Justin Herbert, and they went defense. Doesn't make too much sense to me. Robert Saleh to the Jets. Jets need anything they can get right now, so not going to be too picky about that one. There's also Dan Campbell to the Lions. Personally, never heard of him. I know he works for the Saints. Never heard of him, but the Urban Meyer one I think has the most potential, but it really depends on his staff.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much been the coaching side of everything. Now we're going to probably talk about, which might hold up a good amount of this show, the Deshaun Watson drama, I guess that you could say, it's coming out of the Texans. Deshaun Watson has put out a couple of tweets saying that he was at a 2 and now he's at a 10, which a lot of, analysts have been saying that it is basically his anger when they traded DeAndre Hopkins, which he was at 2. And now the fact that there have been reports that the Texans ownership has been kind of just looking over Deshaun Watson as whenever he suggests signings possibly, which is now making him at a 10, which could mean that he could request a trade. Alan, what's your whole opinion on the Deshaun Watson drama and everything that is coming out of Houston?
It makes no sense. Like, getting a franchise quarterback is the hardest thing to do in the NFL. The Texans do it and are screwing it up. Like, I don't understand how you do that. If I were the Texans, I'm firing anyone in the front office who he doesn't like. Sure, a player shouldn't control the coaching staff that much, but like, he's your franchise quarterback. He might be, if they didn't mess up like they did here, he could be here for the next 15 years, like Aaron Rodgers, perhaps. So, and the fact that it took this long for them to try to interview Eric Bieniemy, like Deshaun Watson requested, like even to ask for the interview, I think is mind-boggling. And I really think that just shows how bad the Texans are in their entire front office.
So here's the only thing that I think I have to say. I was watching NFL Live Saturday morning when they were talking about all this. And there was I can't remember who said it. If it was either Randy Moss or is it Tom or Tim Hasselbeck? One of those. I can't remember off the top of my head. They mentioned how the NFL compared to the NBA is completely different in the aspect of if you're an NBA superstar and you went out like James Harden wanted, which we'll talk about later in the show, the Rockets gave him his wish in the aspect of he got traded to the Nets. In the NFL, that I guess that doesn't really work out that often. But if this does work out, I think you're going to see more of a system in the NFL where the superstars have more of a say over the, owners, general managers, which to Allen's defense, a franchise quarterback that you get is very hard to get in the NFL, especially at this day and age, which with all like the social media and you got players coming out of this and that, and especially with players becoming better. I see I can see Deshaun Watson getting traded this offseason if the Texans are like, you know what, we don't want your opinion, we don't want you anymore, then that can be that. But I think it'll definitely, whatever happens with Deshaun Watson will definitely shape the NFL and how things will probably move on. That's my opinion.
I think it would be a disastrous opinion to let anyone become between Deshaun Watson and like him staying on the Texans. The Texans have to do everything possible to convince him to stay. And like I think that's like as simple as it is. Like as you go to the basketball, I think there's a less accountability in the system. Like James Harden made a fuss all he wanted and was able to get traded, but Deshaun Watson is so much more valuable as like a player to his team than James Harden is. Like, sure, it might take 2 years for the Rockets to run back. If the Texans trade away Deshaun Watson, it might take them 30 years to come back. Like, a quarterback is worth so much more compared to basketball. And especially this quarterback is like top 5, and I wouldn't say James Harden is top 5 in the NBA, but that might be dicey. But Deshaun Watson's a top 5 quarterback, and you got to keep him. You got to find a way to do that and not let anything else come in between that.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is in the aspect of, like, for instance, when Anthony Davis got traded from the Pelicans to the Lakers, how much of a say do you think LeBron James had in that trade? Do you really think the GMs went down? Do you think the GMs just basically, LeBron James heard of the trade happening through like a Woj bomb, Adrian Wojnarowski, or on like Twitter from his agent or something like that? No, I guarantee you, LeBron James was on that.
Bit of a different scenario though.
How is that different of a scenario?
LeBron's been the face of the league since he was drafted. Like LeBron is the NBA.
Deshaun Watson's basically been the face of the Texans since he's been drafted.
Well, yes, I don't know what to say about the Texans. The Texans are just garbage.
So I think what the Texans did, they basically threw Deshaun Watson under the bus with the starting of the DeAndre Hopkins trade. Like, that was out of nowhere. Like, how do you trade a player in DeAndre Hopkins, who again is like you barely get a wide receiver that good, or you don't get a wide receiver that is so good, and you don't even get a first round pick out of it.
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
The trade never made sense at all.
The trade never made sense. I guarantee you Houston will probably trade away a good amount of their players in like JJ Watt. I could see him being traded possibly. And Deshaun Watson. But that is just me and Alan going on a rant. We could probably do this for hours.
Another hour, yeah.
But again, leave your opinion on this matter in the comments. We'd like to also hear what you have to say. But just another quick kind of breaking news. The Ravens are releasing Mark Ingram, running back, to free up cap space and a whole bunch of other players. Alan, you got an opinion on that really or not really?
I mean, I'm not sure why they're saving cap, but Mark Ingram also doesn't really have the space on the team anymore and the amount of money he's taking up. I don't. The Ravens made a bunch of cuts. I wonder why today, or if that's just when they decided to do it. But I don't feel much about it.
Okay, well, we're just gonna go around. Obviously, other than football, baseball, there's been a couple of news breakers been out there. The New York Mets GM Jared Porter recently just got fired for acknowledging that he had sent explicit iMessages to a reporter.
Was this the new general manager too?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I believe so. So yeah, he definitely did not. He was not the smartest. So he is out of the Mets organization. Kirby Yates, a closer who recently won, I think, closer of the year, either a year or two back, might be nearing a deal with the Blue Jays, which could be huge because the Blue Jays are trying to compete with the Yankees, who also made some huge signings in signing back DJ LeMahieu and signing Corey Kluber, who will make their pitching rotation a lot stronger, especially if their younger pitchers like Luis Severino and more can come back. So they'll have like a a 1-2-4 punch. For the Padres, making the most out of what they can get, they just got Joe Musgrove in a trade in a three-way trade with the Padres, Pirates, and Mets. Padres get Joe Musgrove. The Mets get it's a pitcher's name. I can't come top of my head right now, but he was a young stud. And the Pirates get a whole bunch of prospects. That has really been the most news that has been coming out of the MLB spectrum. The season will be starting regularly, as we reported last week, so be tuned for that. And be also be tuned for any more free agent signings.
So in other news, the Warriors beat the Lakers by 2 points. I don't know the exact score, but I think it was 115 to 113. And disappointing to see. I'm a Lakers fan. And before you call me bandwagon.
No.
Yes,
You're a
I am.
LeBron fan. You're a LeBron fan.
Bandwagon. Correct. I was about to say, before you call me bandwagon, I am one. No shame about it in basketball. Do not have the time to keep up with all these basketball teams. But I wasn't able to watch the game because I was busy, but it looked like the Lakers just didn't shoot well. Because LeBron and AD didn't seem to score a lot. LeBron only had 17. LeBron had 19, and Anthony Davis had 17, and they both played 40 minutes, basically. So I'm not sure what was happening there.
I think the Warriors just out-defensed the Lakers' offense.
Be very surprising.
Well, hang on. One more story in the NBA. Kyrie and the Nets drama, as we were talking about earlier today. James Harden is now part of the Nets. In that trade, it was a three-way trade or four-team trade. The Nets get James Harden, the Pacers, and then let me restart this. The Rockets traded James Harden, and in that trade came a whole bunch of picks, and the Rockets also got Chris LeVert, who they flipped into the Pacers to get Victor Oladipo, who originally had some problems in that Pacers trade. And what was the other team? The Cleveland Cavaliers got Jarrett Allen and Terrence Prince, I believe his name is. But yeah, in that trade also, some pretty bad news coming out of Indiana. Chris LeVert had a small mass in his kidney, so who knows what that mass is? They haven't reported it yet, but best of wishes to him. Hopefully he is okay. Alan, what was your reaction, I guess, to when this trade happened?
I mean, I don't like James Harden. I don't hate him, but he kind of made this big deal out of nowhere. It felt like it sounded like the Rockets had kind of done everything possible, like the opposite of what the Texans had done. It kind of sounded like they did everything James Harden wanted, and then James Harden just kind of demanded a trade. I don't necessarily understand what the other teams in the trade get back. I know one team got a bunch of draft picks, but I'm like,
the Rockets,
is that really worth it?
The Rockets got 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps. 4 first-round pick swaps. So, but I guess I think I'm going to reword what a whole bunch of other Stephen A. Smith and others have said. James Harden can't be mad at Houston because if you want to look back at the track record, James Harden wanted Dwight Howard. The Rockets got him Dwight Howard. James Harden wanted who's Chris Paul. They got him Chris Paul. He didn't want Chris Paul anymore. So what does James Harden want next? He wants Russell Westbrook. The Rockets gave him Russell Westbrook. And then James Harden doesn't want to be with Russell Westbrook on the court, but they're still best friends off the court. So I think James Harden, he was just in a tricky situation. You can't really look at I don't think he can play the victim in this trade because obviously the Rockets did their best for him, and I guess it wasn't good enough for him. But in other news, Kyrie Irving has missed a total 8 games now or something on personal reasons, and in those personal reasons, he decided to go have a party or go to his sister's birthday party, which good for him. Alan, what is your opinion on Kyrie Irving leaving for personal reasons and not even telling the team?
Well, I think it's similar to Dwayne Haskins thing. Didn't think I'd mention him again. Except basically in this issue, Kyrie Irving's actually good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think he has to forfeit all of his salary for the games he misses, and he has to pay like a $50K fine. So I think in total he's paying like $850,000, which is like
Yeah,
kind of worth it. You made the choice to go out to a party in the pandemic,
without
and
a
he has to
mask.
miss time. Yeah, he has to miss time in quarantine. So kind of on him. So
I have a question for you, Alan. So obviously, a lot of people have came out and said that Kyrie should retire. He should retire, focus all on, social injustice and the battles that have been going around in this country, especially recently. What are your opinions on that matter of him just retiring and then just leaving basketball behind until he wants to come back, or if he'll just retire for his
yeah, I
career?
don't think that's happening. But yeah, I wouldn't see the point. Kyrie Irving's gonna make bank for the next at least 6 years. If he really wanted to help the cause, it only makes sense for him to actually make more of the money to help. Like he's 28 now. If he leaves, he's probably not going to come back. Like he could try to come back at like 34, but that would
Mm-hmm.
be pretty hard to do. So I don't know about the notion of Kyrie retiring. That would seem fairly early.
Yeah, hopefully something will come out of this. For the Nets wise, because I think the Nets, if they do have James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, they definitely have a big push to making it to the finals. And I know Alan's gonna get mad at me about saying this, but most likely winning the finals. But that's a story from another time. And Alan is going to tell us all about the NFL draft because I do not really focus on college football as much. So go ahead, Alan.
All right. So basically, there's a Senior Bowl, and for people who don't know what the Senior Bowl is, it's basically what it sounds like. It's a bowl, and like it's like a week of practice, and there's a game where seniors come so they can show their skills and try to boost their stock for the draft, of course. Devonte Smith accepted his invite since he's a senior, but since he suffered a hand injury in the national championship game, he's only going for the interviews. Mac Jones accepted his Senior Bowl invite, and this might be especially more important for the seniors since the combine's probably not happening this year. So this might be the only way for some seniors who maybe go to a smaller school to get their stock to rise by the time draft starts, because very limited, can't really test any explosiveness this year. So
Well, with that, I believe, Alan, are you good? Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the lunch table. We appreciate for you guys coming in and listening in on us, going on rants and talking about scores and whatnot. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Make sure you have notifications when you do hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a comment thinking about how you thought the show went and the opinions that you got on these sporting matters. We will try to reply. We will try our best to reply. But with that, we'll see you all later.
peace out.